Well, welcome everybody. We're really excited to see you here. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Um, Thanks for joining us today. We are really excited to talk to you about what you're going to do after your au pair program. For some of you, you haven't even started, but it's never too soon to start thinking about this. So thanks for putting your name and where you're from in the chat. My name is Sharon, and I'm one of the hosts for today. And our other host for today, that's the wrong one.
Not what was
Our other host for today
guys.
are Emily Farthing, who is a professional photographer and teaches in our arts and entertainment programs in New York and Miami. And I think Emily sometimes bops around to other parts of the country teaching arts and entertainment too. And we've got Regan, who's worked with Au Pair Weekend for a few years doing lots of things. Right now is working in marketing. And we're just excited to talk to you today about this exciting time in life. We know that being an au pair can be a big adventure and it can be challenging. And you might think, oh, I don't need to think about when I'm coming back. I just started, but it's never too soon. So we've got a little clip for you.
Yep. I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Okay, does anybody recognize this old movie? It's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And especially if you are visiting Chicago or happen to be living in the Chicago area, you should watch this movie. It's old, but it's really great. And Ferris says life moves fast. And that's exactly what happens as an au pair. You turn around and all of a sudden it's almost time to go home. So we wanted to talk to you about some things that you should be doing right now to help yourself for the end of your program. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with that. I'll turn it over to Emily.
Hi, au pairs. Happy to see all of you. Those that you have your camera on, hey. And if you have your camera off, that's cool too. Hey. I'm Emily, like Sharon said. I'm one of our teachers here in New York City. And a lot of you are either in New York or going to New York. So amazing. So kind of outline of what we're going to be doing. We're going to help you with really useful tools to reflect on what's already happened with your time here in the US to help you better plan anything else you want to get done or accomplish while you're here in the US, and then set yourself up for success after you end your au pair year and launch into your career or your travels or your next stage of life. So first step, I'll have Regan change the slide. This is interactive. So if you have something to write on, like a paper and a pencil, if you want to grab that, I'll give you a second. If you can grab a paper and pencil, and if you don't have that, that's okay. Just think about this as I lead you through a reflection. So I want you, if you have a paper and pencil, or if you don't, just think about this. Write down one challenge that you faced this year as an au pair so far. Write down one challenge that you faced as an au pair. What is something that's been very difficult for you? One challenge. And then write, how did you overcome that challenge? And I know a couple of you are in a transition, like I think one of you said you haven't even started yet. So maybe what's a challenge that you're facing even starting this journey? So name a challenge and then write, how did you overcome that challenge? How did you get past that challenge? Give you a second to do that. And even our hosts, Regan and Sharon and Joshua and Mari, if you want to think about a challenge that you've had this past year that's been big for you and how you overcame it. And if you don't have a paper or pen, you can also share in the chat as well. What is the challenge and how did you overcome the challenge? And then what did you learn about yourself from overcoming that challenge? Write that down. What did you learn about yourself from that challenge? I know a challenge that I faced this year was leading a lot of you au pairs through New York City, which I didn't think was possible to lead 120 people. But it happened, and I realized that I'm able to handle a lot of stress and I feel more resilient. Does anyone want to share with the group your challenge that you faced this year and how you overcame it? Kata, I see you smiling. Do you want to share your challenge? You have a beautiful smile. Hey.
I knew it. Hi everyone. One of my I'm doing extension, so I've had two different experiences, and in both of them I had a really tough time at the month mark with homesickness. And I remember after a particularly bad night saying, "What if I go?" And I remember just calling my dad, because he's very he tells me to wait, and he said, set a date, figure it out in a month, then you get to decide, because one bad day is not gonna mean that the whole thing is gonna be bad. And yeah, I am still here, so I've stayed. And I realized that I am stronger than I think, and that I can do it even if I think that one day I can't.
That is incredible, Kata. And you just named like so many useful tools there, like hitting homesickness after 1 month. I know when I moved to Brazil, yeah, 1 month in, you feel like you should know people and have friends, and you don't, and you feel lonely. So maybe if you're just starting your au pair journey, realizing that you might hit that 1 month mark of being, wow, this is a little harder than I thought. And then I love what your dad said, putting a date on discomfort, right? We all have a bad day. If you're feeling, oh, this is so hard, I can't go through with it, set a date and then see if you can reach that date. And if you can't, make a decision on that day. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome. Anyone else want to share in the chat maybe? I'll let you share in the chat, and I'm going to encourage you for one more thought. And we're going to use these later when we go into resume building. As you think about that challenge that you faced and how you overcame it, write down top 3 strengths you have. Those could be words. Like Kata mentioned, I'm stronger than I thought. So you could say endurance, perseverance, determination. Those are all great words that represent strength. I'm going to put those in the chat too. Endurance, resilience. And as you think about these challenges that you faced as au pairs, because y'all are incredible, right? Moving from home country to live with your boss. These strengths that you can name for yourself, those are great because now you know yourself more, which is priceless. But then if you can verbalize them into words, those are things that you could then use in a resume, in a cover letter, for your next career path post au pair life. So this is a fun exercise to just realize how strong you are, but also get some tangible evidence in there of just how much you've grown, so you can put that in your resume and on your next step. And we'll go to the next slide. And thank you for Courtney and Lily for putting in the chat too. Get a chance to read those, like facing homesickness and having to make new friends and going. I think it's really bold of you, those who do advocate for yourself, to go into a rematch and trust that process. And just know if you are also starting your au pair journey, you can rematch if you're in an uncomfortable situation, right? So now I'm going to turn it over to Regan to talk about next steps. Where are you going?
Awesome.
So, yeah, I'm just gonna keep the train moving. This slide is kind of just to simply think about what's next for you guys. So, are you headed home? Are you planning to stay in the US? Are you maybe applying for a different visa and extending your stay here in the US? Are you gonna go travel some more, maybe to another country rather than your home country? Or if you're going home, are you planning to work or go back to school, maybe get some more education? Just as we go through this process, again, take what you reflected on and look at what is ahead. So where you want to end up, where you want to go, think about maybe how you can look at these options. I was actually going to kind of transition to the next slide. We're going to talk a little bit about travel hacks and some things like that for the future. So maybe as you're planning and thinking about things, tease out some of these ideas. Maybe take a small course. I mean, you have to take courses for your J1 visa, right? So take a course, see if education is what you're interested, or go visit another country and see if that's somewhere that you want to go or stay a little bit longer for. Another option is to go home before your program is over and come back to the US to decide, hey, is it best for me to go home right now, or should I extend my program even longer? So just some things to think about as we go through for where you want to go next.
So here is my biggest travel hack I'm going to share with you, with all of you. It's using Google Flights. Whether you are in a situation where you're coming up to the end of year one and you're thinking about extending, but like Regan said, you want to take the opportunity to go home first, or you want to fly around the US and travel a little bit more, I plan all of my trips using Google Flights because it's a great way to start searching for cheap travel options. So if you haven't tried this, it doesn't mean you have to book through Google Flights. It's just a way to plan trips. You put in your location where you're at, and then you can either put anywhere into the search bar and it gives you the cheapest flights anywhere, or you can put in the city where you want to return to. Let's say you want to go back to Medellin. You would put in Medellin, open up the dates, and find what date is the cheapest to travel. Or maybe you want to go to somewhere in the US. You would put US and it would show you the cheapest flights anywhere in the US. It's very helpful when traveling domestically or internationally. And I'll pass it back to Regan.
All right, so as you use that travel hack, think about where you want to go in the US while you're still here. I know it's a little bit tricky, like you guys don't have a ton of time off, and I don't know like how that looks for everybody, but just don't forget to make a bucket list while you're here in the US. For those that don't know, a bucket list is a list of things that you want to accomplish before the end of something. So for example, the end of your au pair program. But a bucket list is a really good way to plan and be thinking about what's ahead, to create memories. So I have some bullets on here that just are a reminder to you guys to take so many pictures to remember your experience. You guys can make a yearbook. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of like Chatbooks or Shutterfly. There's so many resources that you could make a yearbook of your experience as an au pair and have your host family and friends sign that yearbook as a keepsake for when you go home. Writing in a journal is a really good way to remember the things that you experienced here as an au pair. Don't forget to write about the good things. I know journaling is really therapeutic for the hard days, but write about your fun memories as well. And then again, that's just that last bullet is just explaining kind of what a bucket list is. So make a list of things you want to do or see before leaving the US. And then another point is just making sure that you leave on a high note. When you're getting ready to go, it can be really sad if you've had a great experience here in the US. But kind of to lighten that, good goodbyes is how we decided to phrase it. But throw a little party, you know, get together with your friends and your host family and make it a positive, uplifting experience with the kind of undertone being, hey, like we're gonna stay in touch, we'll visit each other, we'll see each other again, you know. You can make it a happy experience, even though goodbyes are hard. I'll pass it back to you, Emily, to start creating some success.
Yeah. So if it is nearing the end of your au pair journey, or even if you're in the middle of it and you're wondering how this experience as an au pair can really bolster your career goals, whether you want to go into engineering or acting or mathematics, everything that you've done here as an au pair applies to where you're going. I know my job before I became a photographer was as a secretary, taking notes and answering phone calls, but that has been the basis of running my own business, right? So I'm going to walk you through some tips for building your resume, making a cover letter, maybe a portfolio of your work, and some other important tools that can help you with your next career step. So first up, we have Canva. And can I just see, can you raise your little virtual hand if you are already on Canva? Who here is already using Canva? Raise your virtual hands. Awesome. Okay, there's quite a few. Great. So if you aren't on Canva, you can get a free account, or you can get the Pro, which is $14.99 a month. But even with the free account, here's a little video of you would open it up and type in resume, and then pick one of these resume formats that are already made for you. Things to think about when building your resume. If you think right now, I only watched kids, how is that going to apply to me wanting to go to grad school for biology? Guess what? You have international experience that you can put on there. You have studied in another country. You have cross-cultural experience that you can put in there. And then we just put some other words and skills you've gained for you to add into your resume. So I suggest, if you want, you could take a screenshot with your phone of this slide, because these are things that cross-department, cross career path, English as a second language, adaptability, time management, problem solving, cultural sensitivity. And if you took any other classes as part of your J-1 visa education requirements, add those in too. I know I teach our art class here in New York and in Miami, and I always tell my students, you have just completed an arts intensive in New York City. Any person around the world hiring an artist is going to see that on a resume and be like, wow, they studied art in New York. That's amazing. So make sure that you list everything that you've learned here neatly into a resume, and Canva can help you with those templates. Same with your cover letter and getting recommendations. Some jobs will ask you to get letters of recommendations. So like Regan said, leaving on a high note, you know, because maybe you'll want one of your teachers here in the US or one of your host parents to be one of those people that writes you a letter of recommendation. So keep in contact with those people so that you could feel comfortable emailing them to ask them, hey, could you send me a letter of recommendation for this job? I know I've done that with a lot of au pairs that have taken one of my classes through Au Pair Weekend. Same with a portfolio of your work. If you are an artist and you have, you know, graphic design things that you've done here or social media content, start building that now by using Canva, and then just keep a running file of things that you've done here so that when that job comes or when that next step comes, you have things, you have your cover letter, your resume, letters of recommendation. You are so ready to go with whatever next step you are going to take. So next tool is LinkedIn. All right, going to do another show of hands here. A lot of you are on Canva. How many of you are on LinkedIn? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're on LinkedIn. Okay, maybe not as many. 5. Great. Well, now is a great time to get on LinkedIn. And again, if you want to go ahead and screenshot this slide, here are the steps to setting up your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is a website that is the social media for professionals. So we have Instagram, Facebook, and then you have your LinkedIn, which is for your career. So I suggest using the rest of the time that you have in the United States to set up your LinkedIn profile, get a headshot that's very clear of yourself, write an about me summary, who you are, what do you do? What I know the minute that I called myself a photographer is when I became a photographer. So if you feel like your next step of your career is going into writing, call yourself a writer and start putting examples of your writing on your LinkedIn. Now you'll already have your resume, so plug your resume in there. And then step 2, grow your network now. And growing your network, that step 2 is connecting with people on LinkedIn, because a lot of people use LinkedIn to hire. So it's not only a connection tool for people to stay connected socially, professionals use this to do their hiring. So the more you're keeping your LinkedIn up to date with your previous education and your current employment, the more eyes you could have on your LinkedIn profile for someone to potentially hire you. Next slide. And I'll turn it back to Regan.
All right, so as you guys wrap up and head back home, whenever that may be, just keep in mind that it is normal to have reverse culture shock. I know that sounds crazy, and like you guys mentioned in the chat and some of your challenges, like a lot of you experienced homesickness in coming to the US. What's interesting is you might experience that going back to your home country. You may have some experience of homesickness or USA sickness, missing the experience that you had here. So just know that that's normal, and some coping strategies to deal with that can include talking with your friends and family at home about your experience and what you're going through, and just kind of sharing your feelings with them in order to have someone kind of understand a little bit more what you're going through. And I would also suggest making those connections before you go home, right? Like reaching out to old friends and staying in touch with your family or whoever's going to be that support for you when you go home, so that you're not starting those conversations off immediately when you get home, kind of, you know, in a negative light. Maybe you're just mentioning to them, hey, I'm coming home soon. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't really know what's next, or I'm kind of trying to figure it out. And I've been away from home for a year. So what are things like back at home right now? Like what is my family up to? Where are my friends? Are they still at home? What are their plans? Kind of getting like familiarize yourself again with what's going on at home. And just embrace change again. You guys have done so much of that already coming to the US and being with new host families and meeting new people and learning a new language. Like you guys embrace change every single day. So just keep that mentality. And even though it feels like it's something that should be familiar, just remember that things do and are always changing. So just embrace that. And then of course, enjoy old favorites too. Everything doesn't have to be different. So you can enjoy some old favorites while discovering some new ones as well. So that is
Thank you, Regan.
yeah.
Regan, can you go back to the resume slide for a minute? We had a request to be able to screenshot that. Anybody, if you want to have this information right now, you can take a screenshot of this slide, and then we will also do the linked one in a minute. But this is really great information for you to even just start writing a list of things. If you're not ready to do a formal resume, if you start making a list of experiences that you've had that you will include in your resume, it's great to start, because that way you don't forget something. When you go to the end of your year and you're really serious about doing your resume, you might have forgotten a few things. So take advantage of this. And then the LinkedIn one, Regan. There's a lot of really good information on this one too. Thank you, Emily.
And if I might add, as Sharon just mentioned, writing things down and remembering things is super important. So as you guys build out your LinkedIn and think about your resume, write down first and last names of people that are influential right now for you in this au pair program, even a piece of contact information, their email, maybe their phone number. as you maybe meet instructors at Au Pair Weekend, hopefully, that you connect with, you can always reach out to them in the future about recommendation letters or things like that, and also write down your host family's information so you can always be in contact with them. But I know for me, I had some international experience in Costa Rica, and when I came home, it was like a matter of weeks before I was like, oh man, what was their last name? I can't remember now. And so life just goes so fast. So even if you think you're going to remember, write it down just to be safe.
That's exactly, that has been my experience too. Even if you're about to go into rematch, that's especially important because you might think, oh, I'll remember them forever. If you're extending and you're doing another year, you'll think, oh, I'll never forget them. But people, places, addresses, you can find a lot on the internet, but sometimes things close and then you can't find it anymore. So write those things down now so you have them. Okay, let's go to our Ask Us slide.
I also want to just add something too. So I am a full-time artist, and yes, I use LinkedIn, but I do also want to say I book 90% of my business through Instagram. So I've met a lot of au pairs that have come to one of our weekends, and they're like, oh, I want to be a content creator, or I want to be a graphic designer, or I want to be a stylist, or I want to be a photographer. And they don't have a designated Instagram set up for that art. Do it now. Set up your Instagram for your business. I set up mine and then I ended up deleting my personal one. Now I just run my business one, which is also kind of my personal one. But that's how I, like Regan said, when I go to a function, I get everyone's Instagram, I stay in contact with networking, and people see my work that way. And so it's a great way to launch in the creative fields, especially a lot of you are young and you're making content and maybe you want to go into content creation. That's where people would hire you, is off of your Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, we are almost at the end of the half hour that we scheduled, but we do want to be able to answer your questions. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat. We're going to move forward with our last two slides, and then we'll come back for questions at the end. But we want to make sure that if you are interested in finding out more about our future sessions that we will have, that will include more helpful information, some of the things that we shared today were very brief, and we may be able to go in depth a little bit more and help you more in the future. Sign up for our APW newsletter. You can scan the QR code, and this APW newsletter will give you information about Au Pair Weekend courses that we have coming up, and info sessions and other great information that you would love to have as an au pair. Next, as a thank you for joining us, we really loved having you here and being able to help you out with some things. We have a code for you that you can use for any of our Au Pair Weekend courses. And you will use this code when you register for a course, and it says discount code. And that code is AFTER25. So go ahead and write that down. And we'd love to see you in class. And in the future, say hi to us. Now, if you'd like to stay around a little bit longer, we can answer some questions. If you need to go, we understand you're working, most of you with kids, but this is your opportunity to ask us any questions you have. Go ahead, and I don't know if I see any in the chat right now, but if you have any questions you'd like to raise your hand, go ahead and we're happy to help you.
Yeah, ask us anything. Could be related to your future or your now if you're navigating something, or about our courses.
Yeah. Between the three of us, we have taught thousands and thousands of au pairs. So see if you can stump us.
Yeah, Kareem.
Hi,
Oh, you
how
know
are
what? I
you?
think,
Oh, sorry. Can I?
yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So, I was interested about like one of you are like working about marketing because I will be studying marketing online in Mexico, and I was interested if you have like any suggestion or advice about how can I put it that in my profile and how can I work something relationship with like marketing, and how can in be this opera program like benefit in my work. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Sorry for my English.
Well, Kareem, you're actually in luck because we have 2, 3, 4, 4 of our marketing team people here. So I don't know if like Mari or Joshua, you want to take this.
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in. One thing that I can say about marketing, and I think this is what's really awesome about it, is that marketing is, at the end of the day, just storytelling. You are creating a story around whatever it is you are marketing, whether that is a product or your own services or anything at all. And so, think about what experience you have creating those different stories, weaving tales. What kind of stories do you tell your host kids? And really dive into that aspect of it. That would be my recommendation.
I have something else to piggyback on that. I think that as an au pair, you have very set responsibilities, but you may have an opportunity to reach out to your local coordinator and help them out with doing some marketing for some of your group activities that you do. And then you could very easily put that on your resume as some experience that you've had. The possibilities are endless. And actually, we're going to send out a survey after this session that you will probably need to look into, because there may be some different options that you have with Au Pair Weekend in the future. We would love to see you again at a weekend, and we'd love to be able to help you out as much as we can.
And then we have
Thank
some.
you so much. I appreciate it.
And we have a couple questions in the chat. One of them is, can you also do the APW courses if you don't need more credits?
Absolutely. You don't have to have them for credits. It's a shame not to get the credits if you're going to do the program, but you're not required to have the credits. We'd love to see you at any of our programs in our courses, online or in person.
Yeah. And then the next one is, how is the best way to overcome anxiety leading up to the flight home? I'll say one thing and then I'll pass it if other people want to answer. One of the things Regan mentioned about good goodbyes, I think when I travel, my anxiety builds from a sense of something being undone. And I feel like if you are able to leave on a high note and create some good goodbyes, but also I always tell myself, this isn't a good goodbye is not a goodbye, right? Because I'll come back at some point. So it's closing ties, but it's also allowing that, wow, what a full experience that I can come back to, and I can have the ability to to come here again or to stay in contact with all these people. So it's making my life bigger. And then yeah, like actual anxiety, like for flights, I don't know, I take Dramamine. I take Dramamine when I fly.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you never know until you try. Maybe ask if any of your friends from here or a member, like if you are tight with your host mom or something like that, ask if anybody wants to come back with you. It's an opportunity for them to travel as well. And I know for me, like being on a flight with someone else helps my anxiety a lot. So you never know until you try.
That's great. And then Lily asked also, do you have any English courses that prove the English language level that you could use for university applications? That's a great question. Sharon, do you want to answer?
Yeah, so Lily, I wrote it in the chat. We have a couple of different English courses that we run. We have some online and some in person. And they're a great way to improve your English language skills, especially at the beginning of your au pair experience. We've got a lot of context that is particular to the au pair experience. But if you're looking for something that is going to say you're a specific English level skill for university, we do not include that in our courses. But we encourage you to look into our courses and join us at any of them. If you have a really high English level already, you may be more comfortable in some of our other courses. So go ahead and check out our offerings at aupairclasses.org on our website, and you can see if anything we have interests you.
And just
also,
to jump on that too, Sharon, although we don't have that exact English levels, our English courses are intermediate or advanced. So you know, if you complete one of those courses, you could still say, I completed this advanced English course. So there is some description there of where you're at.
that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. Put it on your resume. I took an advanced English course in the United States. Absolutely. Any other questions from folks? And Reagan just dropped in the chat. If you feel like you may have a question, but you don't know how to say it now, or you can't type it in the chat right now, email us at info@aupairclasses.org. Any questions that you have, and we will answer them for you. Back to you, Reagan.
Okay,
Awesome.
Reagan, can
Well-
we end on the discount code page again?
Absolutely.
Fabulous. Thank you everybody for coming. And oh, great. You're going to do the Colorado course this month. That's going to be so much fun. That's a really great one. That's our newest course. So I'm
Jealous.
excited that you're going to get to be there. We
I
have
wanna
a
do the
great team
Colorado
out there.
course.
Yeah.
Have fun, Lily.
Yeah. Thank you all for being here, and we hope to see you again. Have a good day.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.